Hey everybody, we're talking about Anson Mount and his multiple tweets about Discovery and whether or not he still has a job. We have some numbers on the YouTube trailer that Discovery launched and some interesting information and facts that we're going to share with you about what we think is going to happen with the future of Star Trek Discovery. Stay tuned. Hey, my name is Brian, that is Shane, this is the Popcast, and today we're talking about Star Trek Discovery, and don't you worry, we are going to be doing that Star Trek Discovery review later on today. But before we did, we wanted to talk about some information and some news that popped up over the weekend, and some information that we've acquired and compulated, or whatever the word is, and tried to put the pieces together as to what's happening with the future of Star Trek Discovery, Season 3, and going on from there. There's some wild theories going around, and we would like to put those pieces together for you and get some solid information. Shane, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. It's been an interesting day. It's been nice to go back and kind of piece together everything that's happened with Discovery since the beginning. It's actually a pretty fascinating story. If you're a fan of Star Trek, it's a fascinating story to kind of unwind. And today we're going to just kind of lay it out for everybody. It all came from this tweet that Anson Mount put out with him and
Peck.
Peck, yeah, the new Spock. And basically it's very interesting. I don't want to go too far into it yet, but what we're going to do is we're going to start with this. This was like an Oedipus that made us ask a couple questions. Like, what position do you need to be in, considering everything CBS is going through, to put out a tweet like this that basically has him saying, you know, hey, El Pollo Loco, experiencing hashtag unemployment, hashtag will act for food with, okay. And regardless of, you know, nobody knows for sure whether or not they're joking, whether they're having a good time, whether at lunch or dinner or something. But with all the implications of going on with CBS and with Discovery and the show and the questions about it possibly being canceled, when you put out a tweet like this, you're just asking for there to be confusion, trouble, questions.
Fanning
so
the
you have
flames.
to ask, right? You know, and I don't believe that's what CBS wants at all right now. They're trying to get the train back on the tracks, and they've done it with little tiny changes since the beginning of season 1. But we're going to go through the whole thing and talk about it. But before we do that, Brian, just everybody, if you are not already subscribed to our channel, make sure you go down and subscribe to the channel right now. Click the bell for notifications. We've got lots of Star Trek Discovery stories coming as this season unfolds. We're going to be here to give you all the news. So make sure you guys stay tuned.
Yeah, you know, I actually have a different question when I saw this tweet. I didn't even consider the implications of Discovery. My question was, how is it that two Hollywood working actors are eating at a random El Pollo Loco?
Hey man, El Pollo Loco is where it's at, dude. They got these awesome rolls with the sour cream, the chicken rolls.
Do you not have Uber Eats where you're from? Like, that's LA, right? It's just call up Uber Eats, have it delivered to your hotel room.
Well, this is what happens when you're not like a household face where people just recognize you everywhere you go. I'm sure Anson Mount, even though he's growing in popularity, you know, he definitely, you know, can walk around and do what he's got to do. And Peck, I don't think anybody knows him yet.
Yeah. I still don't even really know what he looks like. Hey.
Well, he hasn't been on the show yet.
Yeah, so there was a follow-up tweet to this, wasn't there, Shane?
Okay, so yeah, so this was the first part of the tweet. And so what happened was a ton of people started basically just, you know, what, is it canceled? What's going on? And so after a while, I guess Anson, somebody either he knows or he decided to respond to somebody. He only did it once that I could find. But basically TrekSphere, you know, said, hey, tell us what's going on. Does this mean? And so Anson Mount, in this very tongue-in-cheek tweet, says, yes, we have been found out. The trolls have successfully used their mail-order decoder pins to decipher the truth behind my devious, hint-laden tweets. And thank goodness for their insight, given Hollywood's famous ability to keep secrets. So he's obviously being sarcastic here.
Wait a minute. So this tweet also super ages Anson Mount, talking about mail order decoder pins.
Well, he's not a young guy.
There's a bunch of millennials that was like, mail what?
What? You used to get something in the mail?
You used to be able to order away for things?
Was it on Amazon?
Is it not on Amazon? Yeah.
But what's funny about it is he's kind of saying, so what Anson Mount's saying is, obviously in his tweet, and this to me, just being a reasonable person and being able to kind of read between the lines when people do things, what he's saying is like, oh my gosh, you can just tell in his voice, he's kind of like, oh my gosh, people just leap to everything. It's a tweet, right? This is what he's saying in here by his sarcasm. But then he says, which I thought's interesting, is thank goodness for their insight given Hollywood's famous ability to keep secrets. So I think what he's saying here is that there is no confirmation that season 3 is not going to happen.
Right.
What he's saying is like, if season 3 wasn't going to happen, everybody would already know about it.
Well,
right.
He's actually making fun of us right now, FYI.
Well, yeah, no, he is. But listen,
we're using our mail order decoder pins and various online sources to decipher the truth.
Well, we're using you, Anson, which we like very much. We're using you to decipher, and everything that people say, you can take it for what it's grounded.
By the way, Anson, we know you're watching right now because you're such a huge fan. I want to tell you, you were the only good thing in Inhumans. Everybody else.
Oh, that's true. You were the only good
Literally the only good thing about that atrocity was Anson Mount.
Yeah, and we wanted you on Disco. When you heard you're coming to Discovery, we were pretty excited. But the reality is, it's funny, you laugh about it, but right now, a lot of the YouTube channels are actually getting quite a bit of views from a lot of sources, including people at CBS and Fox and some of these places, and actors. They're starting to look more. It's just coming up a lot about YouTube shows and the information that we're putting, and that we're having impact on some of the decision making that's going on here. I'm not saying
we're copyright claimed.
Yeah, right. Well, we haven't given them anything to copyright claim us on, but we are having an impact, which is our goal. Thus, we do this because we want to have impact. I mean, these are the things that we love, and we want to talk about it, and we're not going to hide information. And if we do get good facts, then we put it out there. And then if we do get information, we want to make sure we give our opinion on, what we think is going down, so you can think about it, and then you can make your own conclusion to what you think is going on. So with this tweet, I basically think, okay, so I think him, and they might have put it out. Listen, there's something to #unemployed will act for food. Okay. Whether it's an inside joke or something. What I personally think is that I don't think anybody knows whether there's going to be a season 3. I don't think it's been canceled. I don't think it's not. I think he doesn't know. I think what they know is they're not acting right now. Right. So they're in between seasons. There's been no filming for season 3.
Right. That's
right.
True. Yeah.
He's in post-production for a movie that he's doing. He's not acting there. So I think simply this means that they're currently just not acting. They don't really have a gig. And if season 3 doesn't come back, he may not have a gig. Now, a lot of people were saying, well, maybe it means that him and Spock won't be back for season 3. Maybe they get rid of him somehow at the end of the season. I think it's way too early to determine if that's the case.
By the way, getting rid of them can simply mean that their mission's over. They go back to the Enterprise and Discovery moves on. It doesn't have to be like if they killed Pike off, CBS might actually be burned to the ground by Trek.
Well, at this point, yeah, because people were happy. They gave fan service. I mean, let's be real. The reason why Pike and Spock are even here is because they knew they had to change the direction of the show because people were just jumping ship. I mean, they needed to do some spin. And honestly, I think that's why we got these guys early. And introducing them already, Anson Mount is getting great feedback for the 2 episodes we've seen him in. And especially this last episode, which became more of a traditional Trek episode. You've got Jonathan Frakes directing it, who took it that direction specifically. He says in an interview that we got, where he actually, said, yeah, I was kind of afraid that to do this episode this way because the first episode was so action packed, but it seems like there's good feedback that it's more more along the lines of traditional Trek with some of the new flavors of Discovery in it.
Yeah, and we're gonna review that, and I gotta say, this is one of the this is a rare Discovery review for us because we're generally just happy with the episode, So
oh yeah, rare in the fact that it'll be a relatively positive review.
Yeah, it's a positive. Yeah, it's gonna be a relatively positive review, and that's partially because obviously the writing, but also Frakes is a boss. So he's a Star Trek boss, Jonathan Frakes, and he knows what he's doing, man.
Exactly. So basically, if you go back to so why would people say, oh, is Star Trek canceled, Discovery canceled? Well, there's been so many rumors for months about its potential cancellation just by people, coming on and trying to figure out what's going on. And there's been a lot of things that are pointing to CBS not doing well with the show. So a couple things just to put this tweet to bed here. One, I think that it doesn't seem like Anson is dumb. So I just don't think that if there was anything to give away, I don't think he would have put that tweet out because CBS just doesn't need the negative exposure right now. So I do think that it was probably a harmless tweet that probably means something different. I just think they're not acting right now because CBS isn't filming Discovery season 3. It hasn't been announced. If it is announced, it probably will be a little later, right? Because they don't have any hurry to announce a season 3.
No, they're going to use that announcement to push numbers to like their last couple episodes or something.
Right. I mean, they're going to look for the right moment.
Right.
Exactly. And they don't even need to start filming any. I mean, they could push season 3 launch to sometime in 2020, no problem, because they're on the app. They're not impacting any other programming on CBS.
No, but that's a good thing and a bad thing for them, right? Because season 1 was basically paid for by Netflix. Netflix wouldn't foot the bill for season 2. Season 2 looks to be just as expensive as, if not more expensive, than season 1. So if the numbers don't pan out for CBS, how long can they take a loss before they can't fiscally create more seasons of Discovery, whether they believe in it or not?
Okay, so I mean that's basically what this story is about. I personally think there's going to be a season 3. Okay, and the reason why I think there's going to be a season 3 is that Discovery was created essentially to get people to the app. I mean, that's why Les Moonves allowed Star Trek Discovery to be created. The guy didn't like Star Trek, all reported. He just wasn't a fan of it. He canceled Star Trek Enterprise in its 4th season when it was, arguably doing its best and getting in the right place.
It was doing its best. It had its best ratings, and he canceled it.
So when they came out with the app, Les, he's not a dumb guy. He did really well, even though he did a lot of dumb things. He actually did really well for CBS while he was there. Very successful, actually. So he realized when this app was coming out, when you see the future's coming, it's going to be streaming services. If you're not there, you're going to be dead because, cable's going away. It's just the reality of today.
Yeah, in reality, cable's going to go away.
Cable. Bryan has limited cable. I don't have cable.
Yeah, I actually only have cable so I can use the extremely valuable protection plan that covers all the electronics in my house just because I have a cable, a satellite connection. I have DirecTV. Right. And with DirecTV, you get this protection plan that you pay $20 a month extra for, but it covers all your TVs, Rokus, tablets, computers, everything you register with this program. And for $50 deductible, they replace it when it breaks.
But fans of our show are getting really good at that story because this is the 3rd time you've told us.
I cannot stress enough how good this is. I'm almost positive that the more people that take advantage of this thing, eventually DirecTV is going to be like, oh, yeah, this is a loss for us. Let's
Well, stop offering and what you just described is a sign of the times.
Right.
It's a sign that things are going in a bad direction. I'm 45. You're, getting closer to 40.
24.
We're older, right?
I'm in my 20s.
So Well, the argument is that, well, we've got our older audience that's going to hold on to cable, but the reality is we're, we're going on middle age, and people younger than us are definitely the YouTube generations. Everything is going to this digital form.
Well, it's not just us, because people like us are talking our older parents into cutting the cord too. If you guys don't know, Shay and I are brothers. I've talked our collective father into almost cutting the cable. So he dropped his cable down to the lowest possible thing so he can watch his sports. But the majority of his entertainment is being consumed on Amazon Prime, Netflix, and Hulu now. So yeah. He's using the Rokus and the streaming stuff, or the smart TVs, more than he's using his very limited cable connection that he really, frankly, only uses for live events like football.
Yeah. I predict that within 5 years, traditional cable as we know it right now will not exist. It'll be in some other form, some other limited availability, and it will not be the main platform for a lot of these companies. So basically, CBS is running to get off the ship as fast as they can. They're one of all the networks are creating their own streaming platforms. That means they had to get original content to it. So Star Trek is this traditional time-honored CBS content. Unless, if you're going to go with something that people are going to pay for, that you have a rampant fan base, this is where you're going to go. You're going to go to Star Trek. So basically they went back and said, okay, we're going to create this. We're going to bring people to the app. And they had this expectation that they would be able to get lots and lots of people to subscribe to this app and basically keep it going. Like you said, they got Netflix to pay for the first season by having the rights to share Star Trek basically with everybody in the world except in the US, because the CBS app doesn't go international.
Right.
So
oh my God, Shane, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I just had a brilliant idea for CBS.
Okay.
Instead of doing Star Trek Discovery prequel 10 years before the original series, bring back Enterprise. Those actors aren't doing anything anyways. Bring them back. That gives you 100 years to play with. Don't have to mess with canon. It's just an idea. It's soft reboot.
No, I love it. So, but the problem is that Les didn't like Enterprise. So he's not going to bring back Enterprise. He's in charge right now. So what I'm talking about is Les Moonves. If you don't know, this is a guy who's been ousted, who for sexual misconduct was fired from his job. And basically, right now CBS is just in turmoil. They've got a lot of people in leadership that don't have any accountability to the programming that's been decided, because that was Les's fault. Everything's chosen. So nobody's really got their head there. There's no heads on the table to be cut off. So basically Les said, okay, we're going to do Star Trek Discovery. I'm going to hire Bryan Fuller to come in. We're going to develop this thing, because Bryan Fuller is just, traditional Star Trek, master of the universe guy, creating programs that were successful. Well, I've got a theory on why Star Trek Discovery ended up going the route that it went today, but let's talk about that towards the end. And I think it's a very interesting theory based on Les and decisions. But he hired Bryan Fuller. Him and Bryan Fuller didn't see eye to eye on how the Star Trek should be developed and what road it should go down to. And I'm guessing traditional versus kind of the progressive Star Trek we have right now. He fired Bryan Fuller. Alex Kurtzman, what became Les's second, but Les was basically controlling the show.
Right.
So then the show ends up going this direction, and the numbers are not taking place. It was found out that there was an estimate of about 70,000 people buying the app or beginning subscriptions to the app per month up until the release of Star Trek. Then when Star Trek Discovery released, that went from 70,000 to 40,000, almost cut in half. Imagine what they were thinking when they said they thought that the release of Star Trek was going to greatly increase their subscription numbers.
Oh, it's the problem with people subscribed because they wanted to see Star Trek. They subscribed in anticipation, and then when Star Trek came out, they were like, "Oh, screw this noise, I'm out."
Well, and we don't even know how many cancellation there was. We know there were a lot, But I mean, we're talking about new people. So the number that we can definitely understand is how many new people were able to come in. And they're not putting out these numbers just for anybody. It was based on a study that was done by some other people that were able to collect the data as it was coming out and decipher it. And we'll try to put that in the link below so you can check it out if you're curious. But basically, so the numbers didn't come out. The app wasn't doing well. The reviews were great, but there was a lot that argued, well, CBS is either paying people or they're leaning on people, or did you know that they own comicbook.com? I just found this out recently.
Really?
They own comicbook.com. They bought it. So, and they were giving very positive reviews of Discovery. So there was a lot of backlash from fans who weren't happy with how things were going down for the first season. A lot of complaining. Some people were happy with it. Some people were good with it. But the majority overwhelming population of Star Trek fandom who have been around for a bulk of the 50 years. I mean, Brian, think about it. We've got 53 years of Star Trek. I mean, arguably, based on age statistics, almost everybody's alive still.
Yeah.
Of the young people that enjoyed, right? That enjoyed Star Trek for all these ages. How you can say we're going to take Star Trek in a completely different direction than what you're used to and expect the fan base to be comfortable. And then to have people come out and say, basically, we don't care about the fan base. They were expecting a brand new audience to come on board of young people and take the charge of this Star Trek Discovery, embrace it. But guys, young people don't like a lot of subscriptions. Yeah.
And they don't like a whole lot of sci-fi either, it seems like.
Well, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of young people that do, but what I'm saying is they alienated their fan base. And I'm tell you why I think that is a little later, why I think less alienated the fan base. And it was less. And where it went from there. So up to this point, you basically they've got an app that they've released. They're going to lose money. They're not losing money yet because Netflix paid for season 1, but now they got to do season 2, right? They got to come back with season. It hasn't cost them anything yet, right? So they decided to do season 2. They got to make some changes, right? We see at the end, they did all kinds of reshoots for season 1 so that we could get Pike and Spock at the end of season 1 to get some excitement for season 2, right?
Right.
So now we talk about what you got up here. Season 2 gets made, everything gets done, and all of a sudden, we come out with a season 2 trailer. Give us some stats on this thing, Brian.
Okay. At the time I took the screenshot, we were looking at 6,239,637 views. If you don't know anything about YouTube, that's a lot of views, guys. Here's the crazy number, though. 1,400 likes against 904 dislikes. Almost as many dislikes as likes, but this is the weirder number, guys. Why, in a YouTube video, a trailer for Star Trek that has over 6 million views, why is there only a collective couple thousand interactions?
Right, which almost an equal number of negative as positive interactions.
Right, almost an equal number. And only 1,100 comments. Got
1,100 comments.
Here's the crazy part. We have a video on our channel about Lethal Weapon that has like 150,000 views, right? Nothing in comparison to this. But it has 3 times the amount of comments that this video does.
Right.
So how is it that a video that has over 6 million views has a couple thousand collective interactions, almost equally like to dislike, and only 1,000 or so comments? Well, either that means that the fan base is extremely apathetic about Star Trek Discovery, and they viewed it and just decided not to interact with the video at all, which I guess is possible. Or CBS is running a butt ton of bots to increase its view numbers, which I'm not even sure how you do that, but I know it's possible. Other companies have been accused of that before. Other people that do music videos have been accused of pumping their numbers up. So either it's apathy or they just fake the view count. And if that's the case, either option is really bad because I don't have a third option for this. If you have over 6 million views, you should have a lot more than 1,000 comments and a couple thousand likes or dislikes.
Well, yeah, just to give it some context, I mean, a lot of our videos, you know, we have 2,600 subscribers. A lot of our videos, you know, that only get a few thousand views, actually have these numbers for which is scary for this. So something's not adding up here, right? Now, let's say forget CBS paying for it. Let's not go crazy, crazy conspiracy theory. Let's just say it's apathy. They see this, you know, it's not like they don't see these numbers when it's coming out. They see, okay, there's no fan interaction. There's nothing, there's no excitement. This is the most exciting part going into season 2. It's your season 2 trailer. If you're not hyped about Discovery at this point, you're in trouble, you know, because that's the time when you're going to be the most hyped, right? The trailer comes out. Let's get excited about it.
You know what? There is a third option.
What is the third option?
It's also possible that they ran this trailer as an ad on YouTube. So people watching other videos would have seen this. It would have added to their view count. So that means maybe they didn't pay for bots or whatever, but they did pad these numbers by paying for the ad.
That's 100% true. Actually, it was running as an ad, I recall. You know what, Brian? I think you just stumbled upon the answer that a lot of people have wanted to know, because there's other people who've looked at this and asked questions about it. And I think you're right. We did find out that if you do run an ad on YouTube, that the views actually count on your video if it's also on your page. So it could be that it was advertised a whole lot. And that even speaks greater to the fact that they're not getting people to come to the CBS app and subscribe as much as possible, because they got 6.5 million views, and how many of those were ads?
Which,
right?
That cost them a fortune. That was a small fortune. That was a lot of money.
Right. So we don't know what the numbers for season 2 are coming out, but we do know what's happened relative to that up to this point, that it's greatly underperforming. So that's a great catch. Good call on that, Brian.
Thanks.
100%. So let's talk about viewership. So if that's the case, if they have that many, then you're looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of about between 750,000 to maybe 1 million people per episode during season 1 were actually watching it based on the app itself. So maybe up to 1 million, say 780, so somewhere in that neighborhood. Okay. So that would be the lowest rated Star Trek TV series ever. Okay. With those numbers, those are like CW numbers, you know, nothing, no hit against CW specifically, but their ratings are a lot lower than the standard, you know, CBS, NBC, ABC.
Yeah. They also pump a lot more content out.
Yeah, a lot more content. So if you go back to the lowest numbers, which were Enterprise, were actually the lowest numbers of a TV series. They were rating at 2.5, which with the number of TVs that were in homes right around 2005 being about 285 million, you know, homes with televisions, that puts the viewership at, you know, between 5 and 7 million people watching. I mean, Brian, that's 5 to 7 times greater than what Discovery is currently getting for viewership.
And Enterprise was canceled.
By less, moonves. So, you know, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So that makes you say, well, gosh, well, maybe it will be canceled, right? I mean, the numbers are terrible. But here's CBS's problem. They're all in. They're all in. They can't go backwards.
Yeah.
You can't not have a streaming service.
Right.
You know, they almost have to double down on this. And I think, and what I'm hoping will happen.
They did double down when they announced Picard and Section 31 and all that, right? So.
Yeah, well, you can announce it all you want, but until you start paying for it, it doesn't mean anything.
Well, Picard's happening.
Picard is happening. They've got a thing. You know, a lot of people think that with Patrick Stewart that they can basically transfer people over to that show if Discovery fails, and that can be their flagship. Mm-hmm. That's what they're thinking. But the Section 31 show has been put on hold. So the Michelle Yeoh show is like, hey, they've already put out where this may not air. This may not happen until after Star Trek Discovery. What does that mean? Yeah, you know, that means that there's concern. You know, you've got Below Decks, which is still happening. But the reason they're fleshing that out is really the success of all the cartoon, what do you want to call them? All the adult cartoon shows.
Rick and Morty.
That are succeeding. Rick and Morty and all that stuff. They see that. So there's that's going to happen. Well, I still don't know how that's going to relate, to be honest with you.
Right.
So they're still moving forward with that stuff, but I think it points to a really scary direction. If Discovery continues, I don't believe it can continue as is without pulling in the fan base to start buying your app subscriptions. I don't think that you can turn this series into a success, and they're just going to continue to lose money. CBS can go lose money for a while. They can probably go a couple seasons losing money. They're making money on other shows. But they're only going to be able to go so long. So I do think there's going to be a season 3.
Yeah, well, Picard's going to... Here's my theory. Patrick Stewart playing Picard is going to come in at the end of this series, at this season, as a time traveler and say, we have a problem. I need your help. And that's going to be the teaser for Discovery Season 3 and the backdoor pilot for Picard.
Well, that would be interesting if they did that. It would be weird. And I don't know. I don't know if that's how they want to roll with spinoffs. That's not typical, but look, at anything's on the table at this point to get people to sign up.
Yeah, like the Red Angels being various Spocks.
Right. Yeah. So, to explain real quick that theory that might save the season and connect the timelines real quick.
So I saw this theory floating out there on Reddit, and then I saw this video by our good drinking buddy, JP. He mentioned this a little bit.
JP doesn't drink.
I love you, JP. You're the man. Yeah, no, we're drinking root beer. Him and I hang out. We drink root beer.
I got it. Yeah.
Yeah, we watch.
He told me he doesn't know who you are, but let's keep going.
No, or JP doesn't know me. Actually, he commented on one of our videos, so he knows of us. Yeah. Anyways, I saw this theory on Reddit, and then I saw JP reference it in a recent video. I think it was a recent video. I'm not sure. But basically, I'm going to sum it up real easy. All the Red Angels that they're chasing down in this season of Discovery are actually different Spocks lost in time, jumping around the timeline, trying to correct the events of the Kelvin timeline. And that's why this universe's version of Spock's is losing it, because he is sensing them, or he mind melded, or whatever the deal is. I know in Discovery, like, the Vulcans have this like insane like telepathic abilities, so yeah, that's not a huge stretch. And basically they're trying to connect the Kelvin timeline with the Prime timeline, and when you do that, they made like this other alternate timeline, which would explain some of the changes to canon in Discovery. So, cool idea. I don't know how I feel about them doing it. It sounds like if that theory is correct, then boy, that's a weird one. It's hard to wrap your head around, especially for the average fans. But it's a cool idea, to connect, because we know Kelvin's not happening anymore. It's good. It's done. So
and it makes sense because there's a lot of people. I mean, I don't know if anybody's aware of this, but there's a lot of people on Discovery staff that were part of Bad Robot. The J.J. Abrams created Kelvin. There's an incestual relationship between Kelvin and Discovery. So it makes sense that there could be a way to tie it. Well, one of the biggest fan backlashes is the fear of destroying canon.
Right.
And so, this might be a way around it to come up with some sort of theory that kind of gets them out of the Prime timeline.
Oh, and then at the end, when they fix the problem, the way they do it, right at the end, right before when they think they've saved the universe and they fixed the timeline, another Red Angel appears, and out of the breach comes Patrick Stewart as Admiral Picard, and he's like, Michael, your kids are in danger.
It's your kids, Michael.
It's your kids, Michael.
And he's riding a Gorn.
Yeah.
He's literally on the shoulders of a Gorn.
Wait, we need more speed. Where are we going? We don't need roads.
It's called a spore drive.
It's a spore drive. Jump, damn it!
I love it. Yeah, you know, who knows? Picard, you know, everybody loves Picard. So there's nothing wrong with having Picard. And, you know, hopefully they don't drag him off and drown him or do something terrible.
No, they're going to give him hair. He's going to have long white hair.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? No, I totally believe it. So, you know, this all goes back. So you just go back and, you know, Les is fired. We did a story on Les being fired. Les is fired. The short treks didn't do well. So the short treks didn't perform well. Netflix didn't buy them like they thought Netflix was going to buy them. And so there was all of a sudden just these, if you just look at it, a series of poor response on the season 2 trailer. They wouldn't buy the rights for season 2 to go global. They wouldn't buy the short treks. You know, a couple of months ago, there were rumors about, you know, shouting and arguing and fighting on, you know, that Doomcock ended up putting out, right? And so just a lot of negativity and things happening, a lot of money being lost. So, you know, and then Kurtzman is given a 5-year deal, right? And basically is given the Kevin Feige treatment and said, okay, no, here you go.
Run with it, Kirk.
You're in charge. Well, let's go back and look at him for a second, because there's some things that are greatly concerning. Because if you go back and look at him, let's go back to when he was a writer for Universal or Sony's Spider-Man series. Okay, so you go back to that, and he does Spider-Man, and what happens? Fail. And Universal decides, oh, we're going to do this Dark Universe thing. He's the director for The Mummy, the very first movie that comes out. Fail.
Which
then
I
Dark
liked.
Universe.
I actually like that movie a little bit.
The Mummy?
Yeah, I thought it was okay.
You need to go back and watch our review on it, because you didn't like it when we did the review.
Yeah, at the time I didn't like it.
Oh, okay, so now you're back. I don't like the movie at all. So
yeah, I think it has a place.
Tom Cruise, fail. You want a dark universe. That's your love of wanting a dark universe allows you to give it some.
Dude, you're totally right. It's because I want a dark universe franchise so bad that I'm adding points to that movie. Dude, you're right. I didn't even consider that.
Yeah. Well, guess what? Alex Kurtzman destroyed your. That's not going to happen because Dark Universe failed. He failed The Mummy. Dark Universe ain't going to happen.
Freaking Alex.
He was given that like to get the helm of Dark Universe. So then he's worked with Bad Robot, and that got him to Discovery. Now he becomes Les Moonves' right-hand man, and now he's in charge of Star Trek. That's so terrifying that he hasn't had any great success, and he's in charge of this, you know, age-old, possibly one of the greatest franchises of all time.
How is it?
TV.
How is it, Shane, that so many people in Hollywood can just fail up? I don't get that.
It's who you know.
Is it? That's what it? Because he just, like, his resume, it reads like a coroner's report, dude. And he's like,
you're right,
continually getting new gigs and new fresh gigs too. Like, this guy is not directing commercials in some, you know, Paramount backlot, dude. He's handling flagship franchise stuff, and he's failed miserably. Time and time again. That's insane.
So I think I have it, Brian. I think I have. Let me, you know, because you're 100% right. Just fail. So I have the theory. So I said I promised you guys the theory on what I think the reason why Star Trek is what it is right now. And so Alex Kurtzman was basically the right-hand man of Les Moonves. Les Moonves decided we need this. He fires Bryan Fuller, right?
Right.
And then takes over basically as himself, oversees it. Alex Kurtzman comes in, I think 5th or 6th episode during season 1, takes over. Now, Les was a big proponent of the #Me Too movement.
He had to be.
Well, right. So he was behind it, supportive. He was outwardly showing a lot of progressive support, left-wing support. That was what he became all about, because he was trying to hide his, bad behavior over the years, and hoping it wouldn't catch up to him is my opinion of it. I mean, or, maybe he was a changed man, and we don't know. You know, I know everybody wants to vilify him. Well, he's a villain until proven otherwise, in my opinion.
Legitimate.
Because he didn't like Star Trek, he's double villain to me.
Yeah.
But the reality is I believe, my theory is that because he fired Bryan Fuller, who probably would have taken this into a more traditional Trek, still probably keeping it edgy, but going with something that we're more familiar with, that Les really wanted to embrace the new progressive movement to show not only that he was making these types of decisions, but that CBS had a culture that it didn't have. I mean, you go back to the problem they had with Bull, that
show. Yeah. Eliza Dusky.
Right, and they covered up her. So there's a whole culture problem at CBS that Les is trying to cover up. So what do? You take Star Trek and you force it to be something that maybe people don't expect in the show, but that has a very progressive feel towards it, very progressive culture. And you get a guy named like Alex who's willing to go with that vision and try to do it the best that he can, right? That's what Les had. He had a henchman that would do basically what he wanted to do. So my opinion is that the Star Trek we have right now is essentially a cover-up for Les Moonves's illicit behavior.
You said the best Alex can do, but we've already identified the best Alex can do is horrible.
I'm not saying Alex isn't trying his hardest and he's just not great at what he does. You know what I'm saying? I mean, maybe he's giving his best, and his best just isn't good enough. But Les chose somebody. Listen, when you got somebody who just says yes, yes, yes to whatever you want, I mean, obviously that's what Les wanted, was somebody who was going to do what he wanted.
Bryan Fuller was not about that. He was not saying yes, 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 which is why he was let go. And so why? A lot of people say, well, come on, Shane, come on, Bryan. Star Trek's always been progressive. That's what Star Trek is. If you go back to the 60s, it was progressive. I mean, they had a female African-American in a role. They had the first interracial kiss. They had, all the different storylines that we're talking about was happening the day. To those people, I say, you are 100% right. But 100%. Here's the difference. The problem is that in the 60s, they hid their message in a space opera that went over the heads of many conservative people of that day. Since then, today, everybody's woke, to use that term. Everybody's aware. So instead of it being a progressive discussion about, trying to bring new things in, it's become more of like a smack in the face or an attack, as opposed to what Star Trek was, which was a lesson for society. These aren't lessons. These are the way they've brought the show in is they're trying to strong arm it and say, and kind of put it in people's faces. Yeah, it's a soapbox message. This is pushing. This is a preachy soapbox thing.
Right. It's Uhura didn't come to her station and grab the white male by the throat and pull him off his chair and say, "What are you doing in my chair?" She was there. Like, it was just expected. Like, that's the way it was.
Like, this is the future.
Yeah. This is it. Listen, guys, you should have put Michael in the captain's chair to begin with.
Yeah.
Just put her there. The biggest problem with the show is that you have somebody who's not in command.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that's essentially what's wrong with it.
Well, the biggest problem is that it's not set in the future. It's set in the past. But that's the second biggest problem, yeah. Unless went this direction with Alex Kurtzman, you're saying because, of the culture that existed at the time at CBS.
Right. I believe that it went so far down the road because basically he's trying to cover up his own, and he falsely felt, because you got to think about it. CBS is hearing constantly from people that are attacking them about what a terrible job they're doing, and what, you've got all these communities basically attacking them, saying, you guys aren't this. And so then Les starts to support those communities. So then he starts to think, well, these communities are the majority of everybody. That's not true. They're just the loudest.
Right.
So because they're so loud, he mistakenly felt like that they were going to be able to carry this TV show. But unfortunately, it's not being carried. So
yeah, well, they're not watching, I guess. Well,
there's not enough of them in order. The bulk of the people who watch Star Trek are not, are not crazy one
They
way or
don't
the
care
other.
about that stuff. Yeah.
They're just average people.
Yeah. Average.
Like us. We're just average people who want to be entertained by a science fiction TV show that we've loved since we were children. And so my hope is that CBS is going to lose so much money that they have no choice but to change, to swallow their pride. And you want to know why that's a good thing, Brian? You want to know why it's possible this can happen? And this is not what people are thinking about. Let me tell you why. This is almost over, folks. I know this is taking a long time. But let me tell you why. Because the people who are in charge of CBS right now have no skin in the game. This wasn't their idea. If this fails, if this doesn't work, they can change it without worrying about anybody or anything. Not change it, but they can adjust it slowly, make the adjustments so that we correct course. And Star Trek is more what people can enjoy, for everybody.
Yeah, so that drives a question. Now that Les Moonves is gone, what does that mean? And their current predicament with not getting the numbers they need and all that. What does that mean for the future of Star Trek Discovery? They're doing Picard no matter what. Do they stop Discovery at a certain point, let it fade off in the distance, and focus on the new Picard series?
I mean, I think it would be a mistake. I think what they need to do is they need to fix Discovery. They just need to slowly keep fixing it, starting with the way they did this last episode with Michael listening to her captain. When the captain was right, she listened, and in the past, when the captain was right, sometimes she didn't listen. She thought she was doing the right thing, with Captain Giorgio, but she messed up. And so she listened to her captain. Her captain said, don't do it. No matter what happens, don't mess with the prime directive.
Right.
And she obeyed, she did the right thing. So much more respect for Michael's character, for that character as a result of her doing that. Whether she was taking that command from a man or a woman, it just doesn't matter. It's about her doing what she's supposed to be doing and us having more respect for her. That's what Star Trek is about. That's the history of Star Trek. We love these characters because they have a set of values.
I agree 100%. And this last episode was pretty great. We're going to review it. That's it probably for this episode, unless you have more. I don't see how you possibly
if there's any more, I've already spit it all out. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully it gave you something to think about. That's the idea. None of it is 100% factual. Nobody came to me from CBS and said, this is exactly what it is. We had to decipher between the lines. That's what we do. Hopefully you guys get something from it.
Yep. And that's all the information we have so far when it comes to Discovery and what's happening. There's some history there for you to decipher. And we hope that you enjoyed this video. And I hope that we come back for our next video, which should be the Star Trek Discovery review of the last episode.
And we'll keep breaking news. So as things come out, we're going to be quick to get them out to you and get new information. So, hit that bell. Anything that has to do with this universe, we'll be quick to get the info to you guys.
If you know us at all, then you know that while we'll be quick, we'll make sure that we have all the information first. We don't just pop out with the first thing.
We won't jump the gun.
All right, guys, that's it for the show. If you're not a subscriber, scroll on down a little bit, hit that button, and smash that subscribe button, and smash that like button, and hit the alert button while you're down there. You know what? These are all our opinions. We would like to hear what you think in the comment section down below, so let's have a conversation. If you completely disagree with us, that's fine. If you like Star Trek Discovery the way it is right now, that's completely fine. Say so in the comments. Let's have a convo. And we're all fans here talking about Trek, man. Okay?
That's it.
We love you all. We'll see you soon.
We'll see you tomorrow, later today.
Later today, possibly tomorrow. I don't know.
When we see you.
Yeah, we'll see you when we see you. All right? Have a good one, guys. Good luck. Hey, thanks for watching the whole video, man. That's really, really cool of you. If you look over here, there's another video, and you can watch that, and then just watch more. And if you're not subscribed, you should probably do that, too. Subscribe, please. 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 I hate myself sometimes.